Welcome to Keentel Engineering. Every time a breaker or switch operates on a high-voltage transmission system, it launches traveling waves down the line, exciting the network's inductance and capacitance into oscillation. On long, extra-high voltage lines, the resulting switching overvoltage is among the most demanding events the insulation will ever see. In this video, we break down how switching overvoltage studies are built and run in PSCAD/EMTDC, covering network modeling depth, transmission line model selection, surge arrestor assessment, statistical point-on-wave methodology, and how to read results against equipment withstand levels. 3 case studies show what these numbers look like in practice, followed by 10 frequently asked questions. A switching overvoltage study answers 4 questions. What overvoltage levels does the network produce? What insulation withstand level does the equipment need? Can the surge arrestors absorb the event energy? And is there any resonance that could amplify the problem? These answers drive arrestor ratings, breaker pre-insertion resistor decisions, and the basic insulation level specified for transformers and line equipment. Getting them wrong means either underspecified equipment that fails in service or overspecified equipment that costs more than it should. A switching study turns those risks into specified traceable numbers. Switching transients are classified as slow front transients under IEC standards, occupying the band up to a few kilohertz, sitting between power frequency temporary overvoltages below and fast front lightning transients above. That frequency range determines what model is valid for representing the network. Power frequency models used for load flow are not valid here. The traveling wave physics that produce switching overvoltages require a model accurate from DC up through the kilohertz range, which is why line model selection is one of the most consequential decisions in the study. The working rule is 2 buses out from the point of study in every direction, modeled in full detail. Beyond that boundary, the network collapses into Thevenin equivalent sources. Each boundary equivalent is defined by bus voltage magnitude and angle, real and reactive power, and both positive sequence and zero sequence impedance, drawn from a load flow and short circuit case. Cutting the model boundary too close is the most common error in switching studies. The traveling wave must have room to interact with real network topology before hitting an equivalent. Otherwise, the model will misrepresent the overvoltage. 3 line models exist in PSCAD/EMTDC. Only one is appropriate for switching work. The PI section model is a lumped RLC circuit, valid only at fundamental frequency. It cannot reproduce traveling waves and is not suitable for transient studies. The Bergeron model supports traveling wave propagation, but only at a single specified frequency, suitable for limited checks, not a full statistical sweep. The frequency-dependent model is valid from DC to the megahertz range. It reproduces traveling wave behavior faithfully across the entire spectrum, and is the correct default for switching overvoltage work. Using anything else introduces errors that cannot be corrected in post-processing. The frequency-dependent model is only as good as the geometry data fed into it. Actual tower geometry must be used: conductor position, bundle configuration, ground clearance, and sag, matched to the specific line, not a generic template. For a long transposed line, divide it into segments and transpose externally between them. A 200-kilometer line, for example, becomes 4 50-kilometer spans with external transposition blocks between each. Transformers require rating, impedance, and saturation data from manufacturer data sheets. Shunt reactors and capacitors are modeled from bus voltage and megavolt ampere reactive rating. Generators enter through bus voltage, real and reactive power, and subtransient reactance. These inputs determine whether the network's resonance behavior is represented correctly. 3 pieces of data are required for each arrestor: the rating, the nonlinear voltage current characteristic, and the energy absorption capability. If the datasheet lacks a full VI curve, the lower leakage region portion is tuned for very small currents, while the upper portion follows published data. Full factory test results are used directly when available. Cables follow the same modeling logic as overhead lines. A frequency-dependent model built from actual cable design data. Current PSCAD/EMTDC versions support pipe-type cables and 3 single-core arrangements in flat or trefoil formation. Cable geometry strongly influences the traveling wave response and is not optional detail. Before any switching scenario is run, the model must be validated. If it cannot reproduce conditions it already knows, there is no basis for trusting what it predicts about conditions it does not. Validation happens at two levels. The load flow solution produced by the PSCAD model is compared against an independent program. PSSE is the standard reference. Fault levels are then compared against field measurements or an independent short-circuit reference. If both checks pass, the model has earned the right to be used for switching simulations. Overvoltages predicted by an unvalidated model are not defensible numbers. The magnitude of a switching overvoltage depends primarily on where on the voltage waveform the breaker poles make contact. That instant, the point on wave varies statistically from one operation to the next. A single deterministic run tells you almost nothing about the worst case. The deterministic sweep advances the nominal closing time by 1/100th of a power frequency cycle per run, stepping through the entire cycle and recording peak overvoltage at each instant. The statistical sweep then runs each scenario 100 or more times with pole closing times drawn randomly from a statistical breaker model. This sequence is chosen to maximize trapped charge, the primary driver of worst-case overvoltage. When a line with no shunt device is de-energized, charge remains trapped on the conductor. Reclosing quickly onto that charge produces the highest overvoltage. The source voltage adds directly to what is already on the line. When a shunt reactor is present, the physics change. The reactor and the line capacitance form a resonant pair, and after opening, the trapped charge oscillates at a natural frequency well below system frequency. The reclose must be timed to that slow oscillation, closing when the line voltage opposes the source, to find the true worst case. Timing to the power cycle instead will underpredict the worst case and produce a non-conservative study. A credible study sweeps a full matrix of network states, reactors in and out, one circuit in or out, energizing from either station end, and neighboring lines in various configurations, including N1 and N2 contingencies. Each combination receives the full point-on-wave sweep. The design value is taken at the 98% statistical level, the mean plus 2.054 standard deviations, and compared against equipment withstand levels. A consistent pattern appears across studies. The open receiving end sees the highest overvoltage. The traveling wave reflects at the open terminal and roughly doubles, so the arrestor at that end absorbs the most energy. An idle parallel circuit typically shows only about 1/10 of a per unit induced voltage, well below concern. New extra high voltage lines, cable additions, reactive compensation schemes, and generator or storage interconnections all change the network's traveling wave and resonance behavior in ways that load flow analysis cannot detect. An interconnection that looks clean in load flow can still impose switching over voltages that drive arrestor ratings upward, require breaker pre-insertion resistors, or force a higher basic insulation level than the equipment specification assumed. Doing the insulation coordination study early, with a validated frequency-dependent model and a proper statistical sweep, converts risk into specified, defensible numbers before equipment is procured. That is the difference between finding a resonance problem on paper and finding it at commissioning. 3 case studies show how the methodology produces concrete results. The first is a 200-kilometer extra high voltage double circuit line energization. The open end overvoltage reached approximately 2.2 per unit, and the line end arrestor absorbed around 490 kilojoules, normalized to roughly 1.4 kilojoules per kilovolt of maximum continuous operating voltage. Arrestor adequacy was confirmed. The second involved a reactor-compensated line where the true worst case required timing the reclose to the reactor line natural frequency, not the power cycle. Sweeping reactor and circuit states as separate scenarios identified a worst case that power cycle timing alone would have missed. The third was a mixed overhead and cable circuit, validated against both PSSE load flow results and field measurements before any switching result was reported. Frequency-dependent models were used throughout. Only after validation did the results earn the status of a defensible specification. Here are answers to 10 common questions about switching over voltage studies. What type of overvoltage does a switching study address? Slow front transients from breaker and switch operations reaching into the kilohertz range. These events drive the switching impulse withstand level and surge arrestor energy duty. How much of the network needs full detail? At least 2 buses out from the point of study in every direction. Beyond that, the network is reduced to equivalent sources defined by voltage, power, and sequence impedances. Why is the PI section line model not acceptable? It is a lumped RLC circuit valid only at fundamental frequency and cannot reproduce the traveling waves that create switching overvoltages. Why run each scenario 100 or more times? The overvoltage depends on the point on wave at which breaker poles close, which varies statistically. Many runs are needed to expose the true worst case. How does a shunt reactor change the worst case timing? The reactor resonates with line capacitance, causing trapped charge to oscillate at a slow natural frequency. The reclose must be timed to that oscillation, not to the power cycle. What time step and run length are appropriate? Around 10 microseconds per step for slow front work, with 1 to 2 seconds of simulated time per run. Shorter lines or cable sections may need a smaller step. How do I model an arrestor with an incomplete datasheet? Tune the lower leakage region portion of the VI curve for very small currents, and follow published data for the upper portion. Use full factory test results directly when available. How is arrestor energy adequacy judged? Normalize absorbed energy as kilojoules per kilovolt of maximum continuous operating voltage and compare against rated capability. In the case study, 1.4 kilojoules per kilovolt against a rating of around 13. Well within limits. How should the model be validated before use? Compare load flow and fault levels against an independent tool such as PSCAD or against field measurements before running any switching scenarios. Is a high-frequency arrestor model needed for switching studies? No. High-frequency models are relevant for very fast transients and lightning. The standard nonlinear VI and energy model is appropriate for slow front switching work. Let's close out on why switching transients matter so much. Every time a breaker operates, it launches a traveling wave down the line, and on long extra high voltage circuits, that switching event can be one of the most demanding things the installation ever experiences. Getting the model right starts with the line itself. A simple pi section only captures fundamental frequency, and Bergeron only captures one frequency. Only a frequency-dependent line model actually reproduces real traveling wave behavior, which is why it's the standard for this kind of study. Before any of those results mean anything, though, the model has to be validated. Load flow and fault levels checked against an independent tool or real field data. An unvalidated model's overvoltage numbers are essentially meaningless. And because overvoltage depends heavily on exactly where in the voltage cycle each breaker pole closes, a single run tells you almost nothing. These studies run statistical sweeps, often more than 100 per scenario, to find the real worst case. Line reactors actually flip that worst case entirely. Without one, it's a fast reclose onto trapped charge. With one, it's timing the reclose against the line's own slow natural oscillation. In one real EHV case we ran, a 200-kilometer double-circuit line held its overvoltage and arrestor energy duty to roughly a tenth of rated capability with no violation. If your project needs PSCAD switching studies or installation coordination, Keentel Engineering can help. Visit KeentelEngineering.com. Thanks for watching.